Hi guys, thank you for coming. This is a little pre-welcome while y'all are still getting settled. So at this event, you are all welcome to leave your phones on, but they have to stay on vibrate. We have a new innovative way to ask questions to the audience. It's called live polling everywhere.
This is good, guys. It's working. Especially this one. I can vote for all of them because well, this one I didn't do city 30 seconds is too long though.
So the next question is, are you interested in participating in an Edina Community Solar Garden?
That wasn't supposed to come up yet.
Okay.
Oh, well, we'll let them ask them answer anyhow.
One more or two more?
One.
The age.
Oh, do I need to go back to the age one again? So I'll have to go back to
Would you consider a plug-in for your car's next family car?
Yeah, you gonna give me a loan? And the last one?
And then the last question is, how old will you be in 2030? 16 years from now.
Someone wants to know how they can go back to the questions. We'll scroll through them again.
We will scroll through the questions again if you didn't get a chance to answer them. So we are doing this live polling to help spark discussion within the group before the event starts, have you think about the environment and energy to help create questions in your mind about thinking about energy, environmental stuff. And then also, it's to reduce paper, so we don't have the note cards flying around the auditorium. It's all electronic. It's also using your battery, so if you need a charger, solar. Oh.
And tell them that the questions for Michael Noble will also be.
And then also the questions for Michael Noble later are also on the program to text in. So now I would like to introduce the principal, Dr. Beth Russell, and from Southview, Jada Lee and Jack Ryan.
Thank you. Welcome. On behalf of Southview Middle School, I'm here as principal, and I'm joined by Jack Ryan and Jada Lee, two of our outstanding students who are also involved in our Southview Environmental Group, to welcome you this evening. And in 2030, I will be retired, sleeping in probably, and enjoying the outdoors, hopefully with grandchildren.
Hi, my name is Jada Lee, and I will be 30 years old in 2030.
My name is Jack Ryan, and I will be 31.
Currently, we are both ninth graders from the Southview Environmental Group. I joined 2 years ago, not only to create a voice for the youth of Southview, but because I want other kids my age to understand the importance of the environment and what could happen if we don't take care of it.
I recently joined SFAG due to my eagerness for improved environment. I really enjoy outdoor activities like hiking and camping, and I hope for my children to enjoy them one day too. But before we get started, I'd like to extend a special welcome to the Edina City Council members and Edina School Board members here today.
We would also like to acknowledge that the Chief of Staff from U.S. Representative Keith Ellison's office is here today.
Would those mentioned please stand for a round of applause?
Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you'll continue to support our environmental groups in the future. Now, we will introduce the guides to our journey empowering our energy future, Riley Anderson and Reem Ganem, co-leaders of Project Earth from the Edina High School.
I'm Riley Anderson, and in 2030, I will be 32. I'm a co-leader at Project Earth.
I'm Reem. I'm also a co-leader of Project Earth, and in 2030, I will be 33 years old. By that time, I hope to see the precedent that Edina has set for the rest of the state of Minnesota in making this state and this community an environmentally friendly place, one that is run on reusable energy.
In 2030, I see a future of technology integrated into every aspect of our lives. Tomorrow will bring new inventions, ideas, culture, and way of life determined by how technology is used in our lives. The change will affect students in the classrooms and how teachers teach their students. This is why we look upon all community members tonight at this forum to help us power our energy future. In order to continue on the path of integration of technology into our lives, we have to ask, what is going to power the technology? Climate change is imminent, and while there is controversy in the media, there is no controversy among experts who study the environment for a living. To answer this question about what's going to power our energy future, we need everyone in the community and beyond, youth and adult experts, school boards and legislators. We have to have policies on both local and national levels. Doing this will build a smart community for the energy future. Tonight, we will explore what steps have already been taken and what still needs to be done.
So as Riley said, this really is a community effort, and Edina as a community and as a city is often considered a role model in the state of Minnesota, and especially the students here are often known to excel in both academics and extracurriculars. And here at Edina High School, our principal, Dr. Locklear, often likes to emphasize at Pep Fests the difference between tradition and legacy. And I think this is extremely important because there really is a difference. And tonight I'm asking you to set aside the tradition of ignoring climate change and instead think about the legacy that we are going to leave for the students and the Edina residents in the year 2030. The idea is that we'll be able to leave a legacy of a city that has transformed itself from being just green in name and in color to being one that is green in environmental action. The hope is that tonight we can start Edina on the path to being a deeper shade of green. So, for those of us in high school with me tonight, I think we all know how important it is to get into our dream colleges, as if that's the only thing that can possibly matter. It's such a short-term goal. But I just want to emphasize that climate change is not going to wait for us to graduate from college and to start our jobs and to have careers without feeling the effects of the actions that we've taken with the environment. Climate change is happening now, it's happening tomorrow, it's going to be happening in 2030. So I ask that you all take the action that is needed to start today, because we really can do something, but we need to start now.
So now, to give us a glimpse of our energy future, please welcome SVEG players to give us their presentation called Powering Down.
Where could we get more electricity? Here's a charger. Go plug your phone in. Wait! Right now, our electricity comes from burning coal. Burning this coal pollutes our air and warms up our planet. And uses valuable natural resources. There must be a better way. But where can we get clean and renewable energy?
We can use the sun.
Great idea! The sun would provide endless energy. And it would pollute the air. But how exactly could we use the sun? Let's ask that guy. He looks like he knows a lot about this stuff.
No kidding, he's got a photoelectric cell. Excuse me, sir, could you tell us all about how we can use new policies for the electricity?
Everyone, please welcome Michael Noble, Executive Director of
Thank you all so much for having me. It's quite the honor to be part of your community tonight for this important conversation about our future. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about how will you power your world. And this, I think, is a conversation that is fun, but it's also as serious as a heart attack. How will we power our world? This image of the world is not very good in the light that we have, but that's a photograph of planet Earth with the lights at night all around the world. And one of the first things to think about when we ask this question, how will we power the world, is that there's an incredible fraction of the world that has no power at all. About 2 out of 7 people in the world have not even a light bulb or refrigeration or a lamp to read by, an electric lamp to read by. So when we ask the question, how will we power the world, we have to think of literally powering the whole world and the opportunity and prosperity and change toward innovation and healthful living that all of us here in Edina enjoy. That's what we want for the whole world. So the first thing I want to say in answer to the question, how will we power the world, is that we have to power the world without carbon pollution. The issue of climate change has unfortunately been grossly politicized over the last 5 years. It's difficult sometimes to talk about climate change, but our children deserve that we have candid and sincere conversations about how do we power the world without carbon pollution. Edina, I think, is an important place to have this conversation. I said when the students invited me that coming to Edina is really a special opportunity. Just to be candid, you know, if someone invites me to have a conversation about this, say in Powderhorn Park, it's not quite as interesting as Edina. I mean, Edina is, for a lot of reasons, a very, very, very critical place to have this conversation. First of all, there's very high levels of education, there's high levels of attainment, there's high levels of leadership. A lot of corporate leaders live in this town. When presidents of the United States come to Minnesota, they often come to Edina. So Edina is about leadership and education and excellence and opportunity. There's also a lot of wealth in Edina and a lot of innovation, a lot of politically centrist, moderate leaders, and I think the balance of power in America is often gravitates around people who look at issues from the center. We're going to talk tonight about policy. We're going to talk about personal action. We're going to talk about how policy enables personal action. Because powering our world is not something you can do all by yourself. You know, people used to ask me when I had high school students, my kids are now 30 and 27, you know, you can't just put it on individuals. I used to take a crew of kids up to Blaine for soccer games, and I had to put them in a minivan that got, 24 miles a gallon or whatever, and pollute my way up to Blaine and pollute my way back. And really, there really isn't any other option at the time, 15 years ago when I was raising my kids. So to put the burden on the individual, I think, is often unfair. It's really society's obligation, a society obligation. And the most significant accomplishment that the President of the United States has had in the last 5 years is calling upon the automakers to dramatically improve their game so that by 2025, the average fuel economy of America's fleet of cars will be about 54 miles a gallon. The average fuel economy of America's cars just 10 years from now will be like 54 miles a gallon. So I don't believe that we can overemphasize the personal choice and the personal action and the personal responsibility. We have to emphasize the responsibility of our political leaders, the responsibility of our elected officials, the responsibility of our policy choices to help power a world without carbon pollution. So here's the carbon pollution story. The amount of carbon pollution that's in our Earth's atmosphere has increased about 41% since the beginning of the industrial era, which mostly comes from the burning of fossil fuels. The electricity side is about a third of that. The transportation side is about 28%. Industry is about 20%. Commerce and homes and residence is about 11%. Agriculture is about 8%. But this is where carbon pollution comes from in the atmosphere, is from the burning of fossil fuels. So really the very, very simple answer to the question, I know it doesn't sound simple, is we have to run our economy without the pollution from fossil fuels being dumped into Earth's atmosphere. That's the simplest answer. We have to have a prosperous global economy where there's opportunity for all without dumping carbon pollution in the Earth's atmosphere. And I just put it out there as plainly as that because it's just the plain truth, except it's one of the most difficult technological, engineering, and political problems that humankind have ever faced, which is why our politicians continue to ignore it and kick the can down the road, is because it's what I would call a wicked problem. You know, running our economy without fossil fuels, one person made the analogy, it's like making a transplant of the central nervous system without harming the patient. Well, this operation has never been done before, but we have to do this operation or we're going to lose the patient. It's like changing the engine on an airplane while the airplane is flying. I mean, we have to have the economy continue to prosper and grow, but we have to change out the way we run it, which is run it on fossil fuels. We run it on oil, we run it on coal, and we run it on gas. I mean, gas is more the climate-friendly fossil fuel, but these three fossil fuels are the central nervous system of our economy. But by far, it is the carbon pollution from our coal-fired power plants that has to be the first target. We have to get the coal pollution out of the economy. The carbon pollution from burning fossil fuels has got to get out of the economy. And the good news is we know how to make electricity without carbon pollution. We know a lot of different ways to make electricity without carbon pollution, but we have to very, very conscientiously decide to stop the burning of coal for making electricity and move to alternative sources that don't produce carbon pollution in the Earth's atmosphere. And the good news is that this debate is very, very much teed up right now. This is the most important thing that's happening in the current administration of the president, is the adoption of the Clean Air Act standards for existing coal-fired power plants. And I'm just going to give 3 little slides about this. We're going to talk about it just briefly. But this is the tool that we have in our toolbox that allows us to get carbon pollution out of the economy, out of the electricity economy. First of all, you should know that there are absolutely no limits whatsoever, none, on how much carbon pollution can be dumped in the Earth's atmosphere. There are no limits. It's unlimited. You can dump unlimited pollution into the Earth's atmosphere from coal-fired power plants. However, the Clean Air Act requires that the Environmental Protection Agency limits pollution from coal-fired power plants if it harms human health and human welfare. And the Supreme Court of the United States determined that carbon pollution was hurting human health and human welfare. So the Environmental Protection Agency is obligated by law, a law that's been on the books of the United States for 40 years. The United States government is obligated by law to regulate carbon pollution from existing coal-fired power plants. And the good news is that they're going to roll out the plan in 1 month. Okay? The beginning of June 2014, the Environmental Protection Agency is going to roll out its plan for limiting carbon pollution from existing coal-fired power plants using the Clean Air Act. And interesting, we already have regulations and limits and controls and prevention for all kinds of pollutants from coal plants. It's limited how much mercury you can produce, how much sulfur you can produce, how much arsenic, cyanide, and lead. All of those things are limited by the Clean Air Act, but carbon pollution currently is not. And that's going to change beginning next month. So again, June 2014, the Environmental Protection Agency will issue the first ever limit on carbon pollution from coal-fired power plants into our air, and it's going to be open to public comments. And this builds on 4 decades of the Clean Air Act, relying on steady, responsible, common sense, reasonable, centrist solutions, just like Edina, common sense, reasonable, sensible solutions, the Clean Air Act limiting carbon pollution. So here I'm going to ask you for the first thing. I want you to take responsibility. I want you to talk to your United States congressman, both Keith Ellison, whose representative is here tonight, and Eric Paulson, and make sure that they understand that you support the Clean Air Act standards for new coal plants, and you want them to support the Clean Air Act for new coal plants so that we can start reducing carbon pollution into our atmosphere. That's the first thing I want to ask you to do, is to make sure that your representatives in the United States Congress know how you feel about that. And while you're at it, you can talk to your two senators as well, Senator Klobuchar and Senator Franken. Okay, so if we're not going to have coal-fired power plants as a major source of electricity, what are we going to do instead? Now, I'm not going to be smug and simple and say it's easy. Remember, I compared it to changing the engine on an airplane or doing a central nervous system transplant. It's a hard job, but I promise you it's technologically possible, and I promise you it's not going to break the bank. Those are the two things I know after studying this for 30 years, is it's technologically possible and we can do it within our means. It's not an unreasonable expense to get the coal replaced with cleaner, more efficient solutions. We're just going to talk about two solutions tonight. We're going to talk about solar power briefly. Everyone's loving talking about solar power. The Minnesota legislature passed 5 major solar policy innovations last year. Fresh Energy was involved. A lot of you were involved. Clean Air, Cool Planet was involved. Your elected officials at the city, representing the city of Edina, were involved. I won't tick off all the policies that we passed, but I just want to talk about 2 of them briefly. One is we created a solar energy standard where we're going to increase the amount of solar energy that's being done by Minnesota electricity utilities by 30-fold over the next few years. We're going to increase it by 30-fold. Because solar energy is absolutely massive in scale. Unlike a lot of other energy sources, coal and natural gas and wind power and hydropower, solar energy is universally available. It's available anywhere there's enough sunshine to help plants grow. If it's sunny enough for plants to grow, it's a good place for solar energy. So you might not have solar energy in the Arctic Circle, or you might not have solar energy on the tundra, where plants aren't growing, but everywhere in Minnesota, every single square footage of Minnesota has enough solar power that we can economically generate electricity. So that is a remarkable attribute of an energy source that is absolutely massive in scale and universally available everywhere. So, of course, you're now thinking, yeah, but is it expensive? The thing about solar energy is the way that we get the cost of solar energy down is by doing it. The solar energy prices have fallen, are you ready for this number? 80% since 2008. The cost of solar energy panels, this panel is 80% cheaper today than it was just 6 years ago, and it fell 60% from 2011. This panel used to cost about $4 or $5 a watt. Now this panel costs 50 cents a watt. That's how much cheaper it is. So solar panels, what we're trying to get the cost down on now is the labor and the installation and the transaction costs and the lawyer's costs and the permitting costs. We're trying to get all the soft costs down, but the panels themselves are now cheap. Everywhere in Minnesota and everywhere in the world, solar energy will be the absolute cheapest way to make electricity within 5 to 10 years. 5 years is what the optimists say. 10 years is what the pessimists say. I say, who cares? Let's get started. Between 5 and 10 years, solar energy will be the cheapest way to make electricity. I also want to mention to you the idea of community solar gardens. I actually don't like the phrase solar gardens. I like community shared solar. There's nothing really like a garden about it. Community shared solar is a law that we passed, and Xcel Energy will be rolling out its plan so that every single person here can be a solar energy owner and get credit on your electric bill for your solar. You might not have a roof that's suited for solar. Your house might be shady. Your roof might be oriented in the wrong direction. You might have big trees in the neighborhood. But you could go together with your neighbors. You could go together with your friend or your church or your synagogue or the place you work or your Girl Scout troop or your bridge club or your golf buddies. You could go together with as few as 5 people and as many as 5,000 or 10,000 people and put together a big solar project and get credit back on your house for your solar panels that would be part of that project. So I think that this is my second challenge to you. I think that the Edina, because you have leadership, because you have smarts, because you have some disposable income, because you can see the future, because you're the people that you are, Edina should be the world's leader in community solar. Why not? Why not have Edina be the world leader in community solar? There's no reason why not. There's absolutely no reason why not. And that program from Excel Energy is going to roll out in the next 3 months. There's still a couple little details to work out. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes here. Edina leadership. Let's talk a little bit about energy conservation. Even more important than generating electricity from solar is making sure you're not wasting electricity and making sure you're not wasting natural gas. I want everybody here to make sure that they contact the Center for Energy and Environment. They have a booth out here, and sign up for their home energy squad. Make sure that the home that you're in and the business that you work in, that those places where you sleep and where you go to work are as efficient as possible. They have a one-stop shop with easy financing and phenomenal expertise and high-level engineering solutions, easy financing, so that the energy improvements that you make in your home or your business, you'll basically be paying for them with the savings that you make. So make sure that you're not having more energy consumption than you need. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about cars. Americans love cars. I love cars. But you remember that story about me driving my kids up in the 25 mile per gallon minivan? I hated that part. I hated driving a car that was low efficiency. But I needed a car that sat 7 soccer players in all their gear. I had to have that. So the bad news is that after coal-fired power plant, cars are the second biggest source of carbon pollution that are polluting the Earth's atmosphere and changing the climate for our children, for ourselves. So what if we had cars that didn't pollute? What kind of car would we have that produced no pollution?
Solar cars?
A solar car, all righty. What kind of car? A plug-in car. I love it. These guys know a plug-in solar car is a car that doesn't pollute. Why not have Edina be the highest per capita owners of plug-in cars in America? Why not? Why not? All these cars are available for sale right now. This is a Ford C-Max. It's like a small, medium-sized minivan. I think it gets like 45 miles a gallon when it runs on gasoline, but it gets 20 miles to the charge. So just for tooling around the neighborhood, you'd run it on renewable electricity that you buy from Excel. You could buy that car at the Ford dealer out on the strip. You could have it tomorrow morning, and most of your driving could be pollution-free. Or you could buy a Tesla and just love driving all the time. We have a couple here, the Hansens. They love their Teslas. They'd be happy to show you around the cockpit of the Tesla. Raise your hand, the Hansens. They power their cars with renewable energy. They have beautiful automobiles that produce no pollution. Or you could get a Nissan Leaf, or you could get, I believe this is a smart car. I don't know if this is available electric in Minnesota. And I believe this is the Fiat, which I cannot believe they don't sell that car in Minnesota yet. That cool, little, cute little Fiat that is not available electric in Minnesota. But I think we counted them out. This is a Chevy Volt. We counted about 10 or 11 cars that are currently at the auto dealerships that you can go buy today and run your car on renewable electricity. You can have a question in a minute, okay? I'll call you in a minute. Now, here's the cool thing that we accomplished in the Minnesota legislature this year. It's not official because it's not to the governor's desk. He's got to sign it. But we passed a law this year and XL Energy supported it, as did a lot of the other electric utilities, that all the electric utilities in Minnesota are going to be offering a special nighttime charging rate for electric vehicles, because they don't want you to charge the car on peak demand, where we push up the peak demand. Want to charge it when demand is low overnight. So they're going to offer a special off-peak charging rate, and they're going to offer two rates: a plain vanilla electricity rate, just whatever in the electric mix, and an all renewable off-peak rate. So you can sign up. Remember, someone said just check the box? You could just check the box with XL Energy and say, I'd like to charge my car with all renewable energy. So you could get your electric bill at your home from renewable energy, you get your electric bill from your car from renewable energy, and eliminate gasoline from your life. And you could do that this summer. Why can't Edina be America's leading city in per capita ownership of electric vehicles and plug-in hybrid electrics this year? Why not? Somebody else is going to be ahead, why not us? We could do that. Oh, before I say anything about, last thing on transportation, better than electric vehicles is what? Biking, walking, what else? Jogging is cool, yes. What else? Working from home, telecommuting, what else? What else? Public transportation. Your mayor, Mayor Hovland, is a superstar leading our state on public transportation, and you should know that he's a star in that. And if we're going to get this job done, it's going to be because of leadership like Mayor Hovland. I almost missed that. I just want to get a shout out to public transportation. We need our political leaders to care about public transportation and step up to finance the transportation infrastructure that we deserve. Now, if you're willing to write a check tonight, the check you should write is to Independent School District 273 for the Project Earth charging station. I think the checks could go to ISD 273 for Project Earth's charging station. But if you're willing to write two checks, you should become a member of Fresh Energy. How many members of Fresh Energy are here tonight? Oh, I love that. Hold your hands high. How many people love being a member of Fresh Energy? Hold your hands high. Okay, you could join those who love being a member of Fresh Energy, and all the contributions that we're going to get, we're going to go to supporting the implementation of the Clean Air Act to limit carbon pollution from coal-fired power plants. All the donations we're going to put to that. And a private foundation has agreed to double your money. So if you become a member at $50, it automatically turns into $100. If you became a member at $100, it would automatically turn into $200. So we're going to fight coal-fired power plants, and you're going to be our supporters. So we'd love to have you. So with that, I want to close. This is this is Fresh Energy's logo and our name and our website. And those of you on Twitter can find me at this Twitter handle. I sort of like it, and I respond pretty well if you talk to me on Twitter. Our table is out front. We have one of our publications, which is called Global Warming 101. It explains how we're going to use the Clean Air Act and 40 years worth of tradition at the Clean Air Act to clean up carbon pollution from coal-fired power plant, and explains that all your donations will be matched dollar for dollar. So with that, I think we're going to have a few questions. I think maybe I want to say Reem and Riley. That's what I was looking for. Reem and Riley have questions for me and that are coming up on the oh, remember you were told that you could ask questions through the website? So you can use your phone and text a question. And so we're going to answer 2 or possibly 3 questions. And then Reem and Riley are going to select the 12 most interesting questions that we don't have time to answer. And I will type up answers and put them on a website so you can ask me whatever hard question you want. Anything you want, ask me a hard question. They'll pick the 12 most interesting ones, and I'll write up answers to them. And you don't have to do it on your smartphone. You can actually use a pencil with a piece of paper, some technology that this fellow knows about right here, technology with paper and pencils. So ask questions, and we'll get answers to you.
Right. So like Michael said, the 12 questions that we picked, the answers to those will be posted on the website. There is a QR code on the back of your program, but there's also a link that you can use if you cannot scan the QR code. So Michael, I think the first question that we really want to ask you is if we can do one thing, what is the one thing that we should be doing right now?
If you could only do one thing, what would be the one thing that you should do? If you could only do one thing, what would be the one thing you should do? The one thing you should do is make sure that your congressperson knows your name and recognizes you in the store and knows how much you care about these issues. If you could do one thing, make sure that your member of United States Congress is willing to defend the Clean Air Act for coal-fired power plant pollution. That would be the most important thing you could do. And during an election year, congressmen are unusually good at listening. Unusually good at listening during an election year.
Great. Another question that we had was, you talked a lot about kind of national laws and things such as the Clean Air Act. What do you also see here in Edina and Minnesota as how we're going along, and how is solar going to be integrated into the community?
Yeah, about 90% of what we work on is state and local. So we're always looking for what are the state policy levers that we can pull on that will create more opportunity for local communities. And the examples that we talked about tonight, community shared solar and off-peak charging for electric vehicles, those are the kinds of things that communities can rally around and call on their neighbors and call on their public officials to lead on. There's no reason why people have to feel powerless. That's the big terrible thing about climate change, is it seems so large and overwhelming that people just click off. I say, change your light bulbs, but help us change the laws. Help us change the policies by getting to know your congressman and getting to know your United States senators.
Okay, so next question. What should Edina Public Schools be doing to reduce its carbon footprint?
Well, the Edina schools should make sure that the operations are energy efficient. The Edina schools should look at lighting and heating. The Edina schools should look at the transportation options and make sure that they're encouraging young people to bicycle to school. I think that families should have conversations about, do we really want to drive our kids to school? Do we really want to get a car to have our kids drive to school? Think about, is it possible to get to school on public transportation? Is it possible to get to school on bicycling? Is it possible to get to school by carpooling? I would say the buildings themselves and how you get to school would be the most important things to think about reducing carbon footprint in Edina schools. And I think the first one requires money, and the second one saves money.
Great. Our next question is, isn't it time to hire a full-time sustainability coordinator for Edina Public Schools?
I think that the city of Edina has been a terrific leader, and whether it's the public schools or City Hall, I think a role for a sustainability leader to help the departments and help the officials and help the principal and help everyone think about opportunities. I think that's a good investment and would pay dividends. It would pay for itself in short order.
So an audience question, what is the point of taking action to reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere if we are already past the safe amount of carbon dioxide?
Yeah, that's the hopelessness question, I call that. What is the point of reducing carbon dioxide if it's already so bad? The answer is because it could be a lot worse. I mean, we are committed to a world that is going to warm up at least 2 degrees C, but we're not committed to a world that is going to warm up 4 degrees C. And God help us if our children inherit a world that warms up 6 degrees C. All three of those things are possible now. The future is possible, all three of those things. It's not possible that it not warm up. It's possible that it warm up 2 or 4 or 6, and 6 is a world that we do not want to leave our grandchildren, and 4 is a world that we do not want to leave our grandchildren. We have choices to have it be not as bad as it otherwise would be. We have the choice to make a difference.
Our next question is, what are the environmental implications of solar panel production, considering both production and material used?
The answer to that is solar panels are awesome. There are environmental costs of everything, but the environmental benefits of making electricity with no moving parts for 25 years at a guaranteed price with materials that are basically sand and glass, it's a pretty amazing technology. And the fact that it's fallen 80% over the last 5 years makes it almost unbelievably cool.
Okay, are there schools that right now are being powered by solar energy?
I don't know. Let's look that up. We'll find out. That'll be the first question I answer in my blog answers that I put up on the, we'll find out the answer to that.
Can we ever eliminate our use of fossil fuels completely?
Well, that is a hard question. And I am still undecided on that. But I don't think that having the answer to that is that important. Senator John Marty, who's the chair of the Minnesota Senate Environment and Energy Committee, he passed a bill last year that had us look at what would take to be the first state in the union that had no fossil fuels in our economy at all. And some people said, well, Senator Marty, how about like reduce it by 80% or 90%? And he says, well, no, let's put it out there. And the answer is it might be technically conceivably possible, but it may be way, way, way harder than reducing fossil fuels by 90%. So for example, how are we going to fly in airplanes without fossil fuels? Well, the answer is you could have some advanced biofuel, or you could fly a plane on hydrogen. Well, there is no plane like that. Well, actually, yes, the Air Force flew some planes on biofuels. Well, could we fly all our planes on biofuels? Well, that creates other sustainability questions. What are we going to make the biofuels from? I don't think we should let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I think it is technically possible to have a world with no fossil fuels whatsoever, but let's focus on a world that is abundant and prosperous and sustainable, and focus on the first things first is getting the coal pollution out of our electric grid, and then getting the gasoline out of our transportation economy. If we do those two things, get the coal pollution out of our electric grid and the gasoline out of our transportation economy, we are well on the way to a much, much, much better world.
And big hand for Michael Noble. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Reem Riley, and thank you, Mr. Michael Noble. A while back, a few months ago, the Cool Planet team contacted the teachers at Cornelia, and they came and presented to our entire 5th grade, which is a really awesome 5th grade class. And from their presentation, there were a few students who thought about what they had heard, thought about what they had learned, and thought about what can they do? You know, where can they start? What can they do to really make a difference? And if you don't know any 5th graders, you're going to meet some awesome 5th graders tonight. A couple of 5th graders that had some great ideas, and really this is their student-led project. The other 5th grade teachers and myself gave them some spaces, gave them a little bit of direction, gave them some technology, but just with a little seed that one of them had, a little seed of an idea, they came up with this idea for a paperless day. So we would like to introduce them to you this evening.
Hi, I'm Kathy Powers, 5th grade teacher. I'd like to introduce to you two very important representatives out of our 5th grade class, Michael Dunn and Maddie Schnell. They're going to... They have a presentation that they're going to be offering and showing you just what was the product of their little seed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm Michael, as you know. I will be 26 in 2030, and yeah.
My name's Maddie, and I will be 27 in 2030, and I'm a 5th grader at Cornelia Elementary School.
So we will be talking about Paperless Day on Tuesday, May 28th, 2014.
So we have a video about deforestation and desertification, which is when we're losing forests due to trees and being cut down, and causes from wildfires and also from humans cutting them down. So this is desertification when the trees are cut down and they turn into empty deserts, and a lot of animals can lose their habitats from this. So that's like the change. And wildfires can happen to that. And a lot of people are helping to stop it. There are people working, and everyone can do their part by planting a tree or even just being aware of how much paper you use. And we'll tell you why paper is a problem. So, yeah. And so what does this have to do with Paperless Day?
Okay, so Cornelia Elementary School is working with Cool Planet to help people be aware and reduce their paper use. And the question that she just asked is, what does our Paperless Day have to do with deforestation? Well, it pretty much, to make the deforestation, they cut down trees. And the trees, they turn into paper, and Paperless Day reduces the paper, so less deforestation.
We worked with Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. We did a waste audit with Colleen from Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And we looked around our school, we went to the office, libraries, we even looked in some trash cans to see how much paper people were throwing away and overusing. And then we got our results.
Okay, so if you look at the top, you can see the quantity of paper we use per year, and you see 6,000 pounds of paper per year at Cornelia Elementary. Our paper that we use is 30% recyclable, so we use 8 tons of wood just to produce the paper that we use at Cornelia, and 58,464 gallons of water to make that paper. And it produces 14,942 pounds of CO2.
And if you'd like to see more of that, that will be on our website, which we will have at the end of the slide. We did a 5th grade paperless day, and so all the 5th grade students and teachers we did a trial run, and they see if they could go paper free for an entire day. And we asked the students how hard it was on a scale of 1 to 10, and we're gonna have Peter, who was one of the students participating in the paperless day, come up and tell you how hard it was for him.
Hello, I'm Peter, and
In 2030, I will be 27, and on a scale of 1 to 10, it was about a 2 for me on the paperless day, and the most problem for me was using scratch paper for math booklets and problems. And something I really learned was that there are lots of other ways you can use instead of paper, such as computers, voice.
Okay, the trial run for the paperless day. We asked the teachers, and 100% of the teachers thought it was hard. And less than 25% of the students thought it was hard. So, yeah.
Why was it easier for the students? Paperless day was a lot harder for the teachers. A lot of teachers, when we asked them, they found that they were pushing assignments back till the next day. For example, they would say, we'll do this spelling worksheet tomorrow instead of today when it's paper-free day. So the students were getting more work tomorrow and not doing that kind of stuff today.
We did a quiz to find out, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard. We also asked, what was the hardest part for you? And these are the results. As you can see, not drawing was a very big part of not doing in paperless day. Closely followed by scratch paper, and then printing, and then paper towels.
And so we worked with the teachers to find out some subs for the harder parts of paperless day and what we can use instead. So our paper subs were for drawing. Instead of using a piece of paper, you could use whiteboards, and online and computers you can use Google Docs, and there are some apps on there like Real-Time Board and Google Drawings that are really fun to use. For paper towels, some teachers were bringing in hand towels that they would use in their classrooms instead of using the paper towels, and we've talked to our principal about hand dryers and the advantages and disadvantages of that. For scratch paper, you can use online Google Docs and whiteboards too. For writing, you can use Google Docs and a document. And for email, you can use email to write a letter, and that's really fun. And then for worksheets, there's a online website called StudyStack, which is like Spelling City or Quizlet, if you know what that is, where you create a list of words and go over that now.
Keep calm and use paper wisely.
Thank you, guys. You guys definitely got some interesting results from that. I enjoyed that very much.
So Edina State Representative Ron Earhart and Councilperson Vonnie Bennett are here with us. They've joined us. So before we move on, we just want to thank these two for being here and for their leadership in the community.
Now, please welcome the Southview Environmental Group to present what projects they're working on at Southview.
Hi, I'm Olivia Alger, and in 2030, I will be 31 years old.
Hi, I'm Lucas Hahn, and in 2030, I will be 31 years old. We are part of the Southview Environmental Group that works here at Southview to keep it more environmentally friendly.
I'm a part of this group because I feel that the earth is our home and it's where we live, and I think that we need to protect it to ensure that it will remain our healthy home in the future.
I'm part of this group because I've been in many environmental groups in elementary school at Highlands, and I've been in the environmental group here at Southview as well. I'm also very influenced by my parents, who like to do many outdoor activities. Over the past few years, we've been working on getting a hydration station for our school through the use of a bottle drive.
Our school sells a lot of plastic bottles, which is harmful because plastic takes thousands of years to biodegrade if it's not recycled. So instead of letting those bottles be thrown away in the trash, we collected 10,000 of them and received $1,000 from Conservation Minnesota for our efforts. And we used that money to buy a hydration station for our lunchroom. The hydration station helps us reduce the amount of plastic that's circulating through our school because it encourages people to bring their own water bottles and reuse them by filling them up at the station.
When we finished our bottle drive, we went to the state capitol and met with our Senator Melissa Franzen, which was actually very influential for me at the time because it helped me learn more about the policies and how well they influenced me. And this year, we started selling reusable water bottles so we could reduce the amount of plastic bottles we use in our lunchroom. We also applied for a grant to get a garden in our school.
If we received this grant, we would be able to grow herbs and vegetables for our lunchroom, which would help us promote the consumption of organic goods. And not only that, but it would also act as an education center where students could learn about the use of all natural food items. And if you're interested in learning more about the projects that our group has been completing, we have a table directly outside to the right where you can pick up some information on that.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoy the rest of the program, and I'd like to hand it off to Project Earth.
Reem, did you know that to power the entire world without fossil fuels, you would only need a solar array the size of Spain?
And that is pretty fantastic to think about. But I think before we look at the international level, we should look at what's happening locally in our own community. So here at Project Earth, we've been working on developing a solar charging kiosk for the high school. The idea is that we could put this kiosk in the media center and have it so that students could plug in their devices. And the hope is that we can integrate technology and education. As we all know, technology is pretty big. So the fact that we can start to integrate this into the schools, which is already being done really. We have the bring your own device policies where teachers encourage students to bring their laptops and their phones to do in-class activities. So I think to implement the solar panel or the solar kiosk would help to both improve the education by, introducing technology and also make the education and the technology that is being introduced renewable.
We've already made a lot of progress on this project, and we've actually already raised over $500 worth in funds. If you'd like to make a contribution, the Project Earth table is out at the resource fair, and people will also be out there with baskets outside the door. And if you'd like to make a contribution, checks are payable to ISD 273. What I want to see done is by the end of the school year, we are starting to finalize the project and get the funds in order to kind of finalize this and then start construction in the summer. Because we need about 6,200 for, I think it's 2 or 3 solar panels that will produce about 750 watts. It'll be enough to power 10 to 12 devices in the media center. And my hope is that when the 2014-2015 school year rolls around, that it will be a reality that you can go into the media center and charge your device with clean energy. And now I'd like to hand it off to the Edina Energy and Environment Commission with John here and Alana Sokol to talk about Edina's green initiatives.
Hi, I'm Alana Sokol. In 2030, I will be 35. I've been a student commissioner for 2 years. I got involved because I'm really interested in the energy and making it renewable, because I know in our home we were not at first so renewable, but we started to make that change. I also joined Project Earth, and we've been working on the solar kiosk, which will help charge devices in our school, because I know I have like 3 devices, and I can never find an outlet, and I want to be by renewable energy. So the work Project Earth has been doing has been amazing. They have hand dryers in the school, they have the hydration stations, and this is just the next step for them to become a greener part of our city. Edina as a city has achieved 18 of the 28 green steps. This is a lot for us, but it also means we have to keep going to take action steps. I'd like to turn it over to our chair, John here, and he will talk more about the green initiatives.
Thanks, Alana. So it's hard to say this, but in 2030, I'm going to be 74. Now, contrast that, I've been a member of Michael Noble's organization for 22 years. And I do have to say, Fresh Energy is one of the finest organizations we have in the state. So I'll plug Michael. I'd also like to briefly thank the students, the 5th graders at Southview, the high school, and the parents of the students who helped them get here and organize it. Thank you very much for helping on this event. The Education Outreach Working Group, that's a subcommittee of the Edina Energy Commission, organized this event. Thank you. Michael Noble, thank you for coming to Edina and sharing your wisdom, and thank you to the audience, all of you guys, for coming as well. You know, we're fortunate in Edina to have a lot of energy and enthusiasm around the environment. And we're making improvements, and it's a slow process. But I have to say, in the 2.5 years I've been on the Edina Energy Commission, I really respect the Edina staff. They have a lot of energy and initiative, and they're creative thinkers. The engineering group, the transportation group, they're just great people to work with, and I think we got a good base there. We've got a great group in the Edina Energy Commission. There's 13 commissioners. 2 of our students will be going off to college, and hopefully we'll get meeting 2 more. A lot of energy there. We've got a very supportive city council, helping set direction and goals and pushing us to do more. A lot of you may not know, but we have a goal in Edina of reducing our greenhouse gas emissions 15% by 2015 from a 2007 baseline, and 25% by 2025. Now, 2015 is a year away. We're a little ways away from that goal, but we still have 11 years till 2025. And if we start taking some of the advice of Michael and the high school and the middle schoolers, I think we can make that goal. And that's one of the things we as a Edina Energy Commission and Environment Commission will be looking at in our work plans and is how do we push the city to achieve that greenhouse gas emission goal, the most important goal. We'll also be looking, the state has set a new level in the Green Step Cities program, a level 4, that will be much harder than the level 3 we've already received. They're going to have measurement and verification to encourage that. I'd like to encourage you all to feel free to contact any of us on the commission. We're always open to ideas. We're always looking for people to help on events. Our names are all on the website, our contact information. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to also encourage you all to take some personal action. As Michael said, the most important individual decision we can make to affect the environment is our choice of transportation. And I think he's given us some good ideas there. So think about that. But another big impact that we have on the environment is our household energy use. And you could take action today to reduce your household energy use, or electricity use in particular, the environmental impacts to zero by signing up for Excel's renewable energy program called WindSource. At the Edina Energy and Environment Commission table in the lobby, we have sheets that you can sign up on, and by tomorrow, you can get all of your energy produced by new built wind. So think about it. I've been a member of that program for a while. It cost me $3 a month to get 90% of my energy from wind. $3 premium a month. That's not much. So anyway, individual actions, thank you. And to quote Reem, let's leave a legacy behind, you know, not just a, what was the other word you used? Tradition. So I'm now going to turn it over briefly to Sarah Zarin, who's one of our commission members and is working on a project, and it's going to, well, here's Sarah. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Sarah Zarin. I'm a president of Edina Go Green, and I'm a Edina Environmental Commissioner. 3 years ago, I picked up this red bag. I should say I grabbed it because it was free from Target. And since then, I have used it. By that, I have saved 3,000 plastic bags by reusing my bag. So here it is, students, for you. We are dedicating to all of this cause to all Edina students. So the concerned Edina residents, the name is Edina Go Green. They are working on to reducing the use of single-use plastic bags in Edina. So please stop by at their booth outside and pick up this sticker that says, "Don't forget your bag." So you put it on the dashboard of your car. So next time you go to do your grocery or shopping, please don't forget your bag. As the Southview students mentioned, it takes 1,000 years for one of these bags to shred into pieces, and then they end up in the waterways, and you know the story after that. Please do the math yourself. If 1,000 plastic bags per household, think about it, how much we are using of these plastic bags in Edina. So these are our sort of local level activity this year to reduce the number of plastic bags. Thank you.
So as we move from the old way of doing things to this new way, it's going to take all of us to take little steps. But when a lot of us take little steps, then what happens is there's a big shift. And these kids at Cornelia and the kids at Creek Valley, working with Mike and Kathy and Mindy, it has really opened my eyes to the potential. And then you see Reem and Riley ready to change the world. So I want all of the students to please come up here.
And I would also like to thank our legislators and Dr. Locklear and Michael Noble for all coming and just having a great time. Thank you.
And Paul.
And Paul.